All right, I'm going to tell you why Ghost of Tsushima is a great game, and it's a take you're not going to hear anywhere else, I guarantee you. Also, there'll be a couple of mild spoilers up ahead. Big new video game, Ghost of Tsushima. Really, really powerful game. I would say excellent. I think it's not too much to say. An excellent game, maybe not a classic, but really, really good stuff. All right, so to give you the story, it takes place in 13th century Japan, the island of Tsushima. The Mongols are invading. The Mongols were a really powerful force that really changed all of culture, even in the West. So this is their first invasion of Japan. And they come on this island and they destroy. They so outnumber the samurai that they destroy the samurais. You play, this guy's name is Jin Sakai. And this guy is basically like, remember the Lone Ranger, all the other Rangers were killed. This guy's the last samurai, and he has to go around finding the survivors and putting them back together to fight back to save his island from this horde of Mongols, the Mongol horde that is taking over the island. I found the gameplay really good. When it gets reviews like on Metacritic, some of the professional critics kind of counted it down, gave it in the reviews in the 80s instead of the 90s for the gameplay. But I noticed the customers all really loved it, and it's up there at a 9.2. And I found the gameplay really good. My model for all fighting gameplay is Gears of War. Gears of War is simple, it's straightforward, it's intuitive. You do the thing, you kind of very quickly fall into it and you start to forget it. Ghost of Tsushima has more fighting mode in it. There's more like moves, kind of samurai moves. The moves are, I found, very cool. They're pretty simple to remember. They work pretty well. They're pretty intuitive once you get used to them. Really good. And my big thing with all video games, I think video games are a visual art. I don't actually think they're a storytelling art that much. I think the stories tend to be simplistic, one battle after another. Even when they make them more than simplistic, they're still really powered by the fighting. But what I do think video games do is they move you into the art. They move you into the scenery. And while the figures, the actual human beings in Ghost of Tsushima are only moderately good. I would say they're good, but they're not great. They're a little stiff, a little bit creepy valley. But the scenery is unbelievably gorgeous. The scenery is unbelievably gorgeous, and as you ride through it, you get a horse, and as you ride through the scenery, you actually are sucked into the scenery. Some of the camps that you visit, the dojos and the various places where you have battles, are just really, really beautiful, and it really takes you in. Here's the thing, though, that really got me about this game. Obviously, it takes place in the 13th century. And so all bets are off. You know, suddenly the social justice of it all kind of just disappears. I just don't think they were thinking about it. I think they were thinking about telling the story, which is what you should be thinking about. You should not be thinking about these little, ugly, small-minded, picky social justice trolls who, if I ruled the world, would be hung up by their ankles and flogged and then sent home to their mothers and fathers where they could live in the basement where they belong, instead of picking on all these industries that are successful, that are entertaining, that are doing all this wonderful stuff. And Ghost of Tsushima doesn't deal with any of that because they're samurais. There is this great male set of values, the value of honor, the value of service, the value of the strong fighting man serving the weak person who can't fight for himself. And we all know what that ultimately translates into is that men should defend women. The men should defend the women and children of the island, and they should go out and fight. Plus, on top of this, and I'll get back to women warriors in a minute because I know you all love to hear me talk about women warriors, but the other thing about this is there is a natural love of your culture and your community. So the invading Mongols are looked upon as you would look upon, say, invading Mongols. There's none of this like, oh, what did we do to offend them? Like the left when they talk about like Islamists. Why are they so mad at us? Maybe we didn't give them jobs. Maybe we weren't nice. None of that. It's like, these bloody Mongols, I'll chase them off our shores, which is the way you should feel. You should love your country. You should hate your enemies. You should hate the enemies of your country, and you should hate the conquerors of your country. You should fight back against people who attack your country. When somebody bombs your country, you should fight back wholeheartedly, viciously, and without quarter. And that's what they do. And the whole thing about the game is the honorable samurai values against the evil Mongol values, and how sometimes you have to compromise. I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to have any spoilers, but sometimes you have to compromise your values and what that means and how that affects people. But just the very opening of the story, one of the samurais goes down to the Mongol leader. And this I will give away. This is just the opening scene. This is the only thing I'll give away. He goes down to the Mongol leader and he says, come out and fight me man to man. Come out and fight me man to man, and let's, settle this by champions, essentially, this honorable thing, because they're so outnumbered. There's like 85 samurai, and there's thousands of Mongols. And so the guy goes out and says, just fight me man to man. And the Mongol leader throws a glass of wine on him and then throws a torch on him, sets him on fire, and cuts off his head. Doesn't give him a chance, doesn't fight him honorably. And that sets the scene that you're dealing with this ancient code of honor versus the Mongols. Now, of course, because we have to be politically correct, there's all these women warriors in it. And the first few things where you go after allies are all about the women warriors. And I have to say, when I was reviewing The Witcher, I was talking about the nonsense of women swordsmen fighting at the level of male swordsmen in a melee battle. Okay, there was. It's half legendary and half historical. There was a group of female samurai whose job was to protect their homes while the real samurai were out fighting the battles. And so these women warriors used a weapon called the naginata. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically a pole with a blade on the end. It was supposed to, because they were smaller and weaker, it was supposed to give them more leverage with that spear. That's what I've read anyway. Now, there's not a lot about this in real history. There's a lot of legend about this, and they have found archaeological finds where battlegrounds they did find women's bodies, which is very, very rare in the West to do that, to find warriors. They found one Viking, and they said, "Oh, see, women Vikings were warriors." Not so much, but it's hard to know the truth about this. It is true, by the way, in Western chivalric literature, there are also legendary female knights, but they are legendary. They do things that that female knights could not have done, including wearing armor and carrying that around. However, we'll give them a break. We'll give them a break and allow there to be some female samurais. That having been said, the values are good male values. They're things that we used to learn by playing cowboys and Indians when we treated the Indians like they treat the Mongols in this. They are things that we used to learn by playing GIs in the war. They're things that we teach our soldiers still. Values like honor, values like service, values like fighting and killing to defend the weak. And it's nice to see them. It's nice to see them. It's nice to get these social justice warriors out of people's heads and get these values back on the screen. I have to tell you, it was just playing this game, which really is enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. It really does remind you that social justice warriors are termites in the house of God. They are like termites eating away at the structure of everything that is right and everything that is good. They call themselves social justice warriors, but they're termites. And really, when you see a game that still sticks to its guns and tells us a story the way a story should be told, it's an incredible relief. Ghost of Tsushima, I recommend it if you like these third-person fighting games. Really, really exciting and fun.